so strong, this elemental mage coming out from Trolljagarn. And we were talking about the Yacht Boys. They've already taken down Speechless 3-0. They just took down Kanitra Tigers 3-1. They haven't met Trolljagarn yet, so if Trolljagarn can get through this lower bracket again, it could be a similar story to last tournament. We'll have to see if the Yacht Boys have worked out any answer to this elemental mage. They may well have done. I mean, they've had a good week, and they do seem like quite an adaptive team. Speechless also struggled against Trolljagarn last week, but they've been looking quite strong today. They already took out Reawakened, who are many people's favorites to take some of these tournaments. So Speechless looking very strong. Trolljagarn might be up against the wall. I remember they were struggling a lot with Speechless, even though they did take them down last week.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how the Mage Ellie fares this time around. Zeepai already catching a fear. We see Fnobbers being pressured, and I think this is what the Turbo Cleave needs to do, constantly going after the Resto Druid. It worked for them against Reawaken, and it could work similarly here against Trolljagarn. We can see Fnobbers still getting pressured fairly hard. He's trying to be greedy with his bark skins. He's going to get away with it. Blizzo right now caught into a bash, but Looney's doing a good job keeping him fully hotted, maintaining their health very well here. We see a Recklessness popped over onto Leaksy the Mage. Fnobbers is actually in stealth. He's hanging out for quite a while in stealth. He's able to get away from Speechless and switch sides of the map, just constantly back and forth. He's forced to use the Iron Bark, though, onto Leaksy to stabilize. We see a Stormbolt now onto Fnobbers, but a Deep Freeze over onto Looney. They're just trying to burst Jamie down even without a sheet. I don't think Jamie's going to trade out the Shamanistic Rage. He knows that maybe they're trying to bait it. But Blizzo is just going recklessly onto Fnobbers over and over and over. And, you know, surprisingly enough, I kind of like it.
Yeah, I think we've seen this from Speechless. They saw it working out against the RMD. Maybe they're going to try against the Ellie Mage. I mean, they certainly need to try stuff because they didn't win last week. I'm interested to see why so much damage is being put onto Blizzo, but we're going to see it now. He's dropping down to about 40%. I thought they were going to go for Jamie slightly more. Blizzo's down to about 40%. Looney not really getting CC'd up, though. Maybe Trolljagarn's kind of dropping the ball. Fnobbers is still under a little bit of pressure. But as I say that, Blizzo dropping down to 9%, so much damage coming out from Trolljagarn. The full sheep onto Looney is followed up by that Ring of Frost. The Rallying Cry is going to fall here. The Mass Reflect comes out, stops any follow-up CC from Trolljagarn, and Blizzo did have to use quite a few defensive commands there. In fact, using everything in his arsenal to survive.
Yeah, Looney's going to have to make sure that he's watching Blizzo very closely, and I'm curious to see if Blizzo decides to be as reckless as he was earlier. It looks like he's going to stun Fnobbers, but he's unable to connect, just chasing after Zeepai. We see a Deep Freeze over onto Looney, and if they can follow it up, it doesn't look like they can, though. Unfortunately, Looney was in a Frozen Orb, which would have broken him out of a Polymorph. We see a preemptive Iron Bark now from Looney to try and do with this damage. A full Hex onto Jamie. I'm curious to why it's not being dispelled immediately. Now they're going to follow that up with a Cyclone, so maybe a bit of a misplay from Looney. He might be just spam dispelling the Flame Shocks. He might not have had one, but Jamie's going to sit so much CC because of that Hex.
Yeah, Blizzo is just taking so much damage. He has to be in the middle of the map to get this damage down, but he's just getting punished so hard for it. This Mighty Bash onto him could have been quite a lot of damage. They're setting up, the heals come out, but will it be enough? He's down to about 60%. He is now trying to maybe kite away. He's hitting Leaksy, he's by the pillar. He does have the opportunity to loss if he needs to. A nice Cyclone coming out from Looney. Does shut down Leaksy a little bit, only really forcing out the Trinket, though, to be honest. Zeepai had the Iron Bark up there, and that's going to prompt him to swap it over onto Fnobbers. I like this from Speechless. A bit of damage coming out onto Jamie, but they do force that Barkskin from Fnobbers, and they are trading him down. Fnobbers kind of going into the middle of the map. I like this play. It allows Zeepai, it allows Leaksy to get out as much PvE damage as possible onto Speechless. They do have that Deep Freeze available, of course. Maybe they can get something going. Blizzo's still kind of low on cooldowns, and Jamie is looking quite healthy, but both these teams just kind of sitting out in the middle. We see a nice pummel from Blizzo shutting down that damage a little bit, but Fnobbers actually forced a Trinket there down to about 40%, and Leaksy and Fnobbers are just so low. Trolljagarn are falling further and further behind.
Yeah, Speechless are looking very solid right now in match number 1. If they can connect onto Fnobbers again, they might be able to take him out. Looney, though, getting randomly sheeped, and it might cost him the game. Jamie's trying to be greedy with the Shamanistic Rage, but they turn their attention immediately onto Blizzo. He's forced to Trinket out of that stun. They want to stay aggressive onto Fnobbers. They've caught him out with no Barkskin. They have to kill him in this stun. Do they have enough damage to do it is a question. Not quite enough. Fnobbers is going to be able to connect the Iron Bark. He's trying to kite away desperately. A good Bladestorm from Blizzo to immune some of those roots. It seems like Jamie is just Terminator mode at Fnobbers, just running at the healer. He's going to get cloned up, though, with the Polymorph over onto Looney. The Polymorphs have now faded. Can Fnobbers rotate it over? It doesn't look like he's in a good position at all to do it. Jamie now getting swapped to, just randomly taking so much damage. Down at 25%, he's holding on to that Shaman Rage. He does finally decide to trade it out to survive, and now Speechless could be behind in this match.
Yeah, Jamie's going to be really upset that he had to use that Sham Rage there. There wasn't really any CC onto Looney, and Looney even in estimate still was low, so having to trade out that cooldown is really annoying for them. They do also have trinkets available. Looney does have that break, which should be enough to keep his team alive should he require it, and they're still playing offensive. This Turbo just realizing how offensively they can afford to play against this comp, and Leeksy and Zepai are struggling to get the counter pressure required. They are doing a lot of damage, and Jamie is actually dropping quite low right now. No NS available. Looney is sitting healthy on mana. He should be able to stabilize him right now. There's no deep freeze available for 10 seconds, meaning that there's no real CC coming out onto Looney. Jamie's going to be able to stabilize, but Fnobbers is just taking so much damage. He has to pop that Iron Bark on himself now. He doesn't really have anything left after that expires. An Iron Bark from Looney preemptively onto Jamie might be enough to keep him alive here as he does get put into the deep freeze. Can they land the sheep? Nope, the sheep gets stopped by Blizzo. Good pummel by him. Should allow Jamie to get topped off by Looney, but he is still taking so much damage. We see the Lava Burst of Fulmination coming out from Zepai. A nice defensive Cyclone onto Leeksy, however, from Looney should mean that the damage is slowed down, and they need to get offensive onto Flobbers now.
Yeah, Fnobbers actually got into stealth. He was trying to go for a cheeky clone, but he did get charge stunned immediately. He saw the recklessness out from Blizzo. He decided to trinket. I think that was a smart trade for him, but he will not have trinket moving forward. And Ascendance is coming off CD for Jamie, and Speechless might be able to set something up. It seems like Jamie's just training him down anyway. Jamie's just soloing Fnobbers on the pillar right now. He's at 30%, struggling to deal with just Jamie alone. If Blizzo could connect, he might be able to finish him, but Blizzo is getting punished in the meantime. He's stuck in the middle of the map. He's trying to figure out a way to connect. He's going to get knocked back. He decides to leap in, but he's still getting slowed by the frostbolts. Will he be able to connect? Fnobbers blinks away. Really good display service. Looney actually blinks right after him, but he's no longer healing, and Blizzard's just taking so much damage, and that's an Iron Bark come out to save him. He should be all right to survive, but every time they just turn to Blizzo, his health just instantly evaporates. It seems to be a risky play for Speechless, but maybe they have to commit to it. The Iron Bark now has faded. The deep freeze over onto Looney. Blizzo could easily go down. He's trying to get back to the pillar desperately, using that Master Reflect to just avoid any damage even. Zepai is throwing down these Earthquakes, trying to disrupt his enemies, and Jamie, in the meantime, has never detargeted Fnobbers. He's now popping the Ascendants. He's trying to create pressure for his team, and maybe this reckless SM Morg strategy might work for them. Fnobbers again forced to blink away. He gets charged on his blink though. Blizzo's desperately trying to connect. They have forced out most of the cooldowns of Fnobbers. If they can get back to him, they might be able to kill them. They need to keep themselves alive though, and this is the setup to win. Blizzo's in trouble. Looney sees it. Looney trinkets out, but Looney doesn't really have anything to keep him alive. He's just spamming Rejuve over and over to try and save him. Blizzo does manage to get out of line of sight. If he can get Blizzo topped off right now, they have to go after Fnobbers.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's such a risky strategy. This is a brand new strategy from Speechless. We saw it in the RMD game. We now see it against the Elemental Mage, but it's so risky. They are getting a lot of pressure, but Blizzo is just taking so much damage. Fnumber's doing an excellent job of forcing him to go into the middle. He's like, if you want to hit me, these two people are going to hit you back, and two people do more damage than one. Blizzo's just, he looks like he's quite stable for now, but Looney has used his trinket, which really does expose them. We see Jamie dropping low, having to use that Sham Rage. Looney's mana is quite low. He's down to about 10%. A nice Master Reflect. I like these Master Reflects from Blizzo, and we actually see that there's no blocks available on Trolljagarn. I would love to see them just kind of tunnel Leeksy for the rest of the game now. They've got Fnobbers to low mana. They've actually forced the Iron Bark on him as well. Leeksy has no cooldowns. They should just be tunneling him right now. If they could just shut down Leeksy, they could potentially win this game. They forced the trinket out of those Cyclones. Well played by Looney. He's actually getting so many Cyclones out this game. A lot more than we've seen potentially in the rest of the tournament, to be honest. As we see Jamie dropping low, he doesn't have that Sham Rage available, and Leeksy's in so much trouble. Jamie also in trouble. It's going to be interesting to see who actually comes out on top here. Jamie down to about 30%. There's no CC though. He should be able to top him off. The trinket hangs come out from Fnobbers because of that pressure, and Jamie is the first one to fall. I feel like they should have been hitting Leeksy towards the end of that game.
Wow, that was really aggressive from Speechless, and I mean, I don't blame them. It seems to be like with this composition that going after Fnobbers is the only way they can create real pressure before dampening. But like you were saying, I think they should have considered falling back with no Shamanistic Rage. Jamie just exposed himself. They took a risk. Both teams didn't have very much left, but they were able to outposition them based on being a caster versus a melee. Trolljagarn were able to take advantage of Speechless's reckless strategy and punish them later in the game.
Speaking of positionings, I absolutely love that the way that this Frostmage Elemental Shaman of Trolljagarn, if their main kill target just goes behind the pillar, they just turn their turrets to something else and just unload on them as well. Like, If he's on the open, Blizzo gets hit, and vice versa. And I feel like that consistent amount of pressure and keeping them is a big reason to why, like, they had to force those defensive cooldowns while Speechless was just going all in like that. If they weren't, then they just fall behind. But they did a phenomenal job at getting those defensive cooldowns and just pumping out an absurd amount of damage. But we're going to be going into game 2 next, and you know, on the Grand Arena with a double melee composition that Speechless is running, it's a little bit bigger than, say, Dalaran Sewers or even Ruins of Lordaeron. So with a map choice in favor of this Turbo Cleave, we might have a very different game on our hands. We also know that LSD, or Elemental Shaman specifically, they don't necessarily hate Ruins of Lordaeron because it does give them a lot of open room and only one pillar for their opposing team to line of sight around. And when you're in line of sight of an Elemental Shaman, specifically Zeepai, you gotta be careful. So I'm interested to seeing the decisions that Speechless is going to be making going into game 2.
We didn't really mention it too much because you can't really do anything too flashy when you're being trained, but we should be giving a lot of credit to Fnobbers. He kept his team alive a good 7-8 minutes whilst being tunnel bound by Turbo Cleave, and the Turbo Cleave did have very good uptime on him. There were several times where they both connected to him with their ascendants, and Fnobbers acted appropriately every single time. I mean, we didn't see any particularly flashy plays from him. There weren't too many cyclones, of course, because his main priority in that situation is to stay alive, but he did that excellently. There was never really a time that he was sub 20% in execute range, so his team felt confident to carry on doing damage rather than support him too much. And I really feel like the fact that Fnobbers was able to deal with being trained so well was maybe something Speechless didn't anticipate, and maybe something that won Trolljagarn the game.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, when I saw like Ascendants coming out and Fnobbers actually in stun in human form, switching to that bear form, I'm just like, oh my gosh, surely he'll go down. But he kept his cool every time, man. Every single time he kept his cool, which is definitely a big deal. But it looks like we're taking a little bit of delayed time from these teams to get ready to go into game number 2. Not sure if there's no technical delay. I feel like they're just trying to make their decisions and maybe even a comp swap. I'm just speculating here. The admin hasn't told us anything yet. I just usually, when there's a little bit of delayed time being utilized, it's either a team strategizing, you know, trying to figure it out and talking amongst themselves, or a composition change for the teams. And so we're gonna see as soon as we jump into the map what compositions are gonna be coming out from both of these teams. But it looks like Dalaran Sewers is gonna be the map choice. I like that map choice coming out from Speechless. I think it's a lot safer than Ruins of Lordaeron, but still just as small, and to give them that line of sight for them to be able to, you know, get away from this Elemental Shaman world. Oh, yep, we do have a comp swap coming out from Trolljagarn. They're going to be getting Leak Seas out for Walric the Warlock. What do you guys think of this composition swap?
Maybe they were afraid of Speechless changing to LSD. Speechless would have to say the map, so they said Dalaran, and then Trolljagarn were going to have to say, like, okay, how good is Ellie Mage going to be against their LSD if they decide to play that on Dalaran? Probably not very good. So we're more afraid of that, so we'll actually just play LSD, and LSD can beat Turbo as well, similar fashion where they bring the game out into dampening and they kind of outposition their opponents. So what I really want to see from Speechless is the player that doesn't have cooldowns needs to be defensive. He needs to be aware that he could just explode to Zeepai's damage. So at the end of that match, Jamie didn't have anything to survive. He needed to pull back, and he just went too far. So if Speechless can kind of tag team in Blizzo and Jamie based on their cooldowns, I think that they'll be able to succeed.
Having said that, Speechless did have the option to go in for this LSD mirror. As you say, they select their comp second, so they know Trolljagarn's comp. They could have gone for the mirror if they wanted to, but they might feel quite confident in their Turbo Cleave in this matchup. I feel like starving in that Warlock might even prompt them to go on to Fnobbers more. There's even less peels coming out from a Warlock against this Turbo Cleave, as we do see the opening damage onto Blizzo. The Iron Bar comes out, but Fnobbers is taking a lot of damage as well, down to about 40%. I'm not sure that he's going to have a fun time this game, being tunneled down whilst playing this LSD composition on Dalaran, which is quite a small map already. We do see his team kind of rotting down from the pressure of this Turbo Cleave. Blizzo actually opting to play that Avatar this game, so he's going to be doing even more burst damage. The Stormbolt now coming out onto Fnobbers. A nice pre-bear form by him. Once again, though, it's going to keep him quite stable for now. He's sitting at about 60% HP. Good damage coming out from Jamie. He's already used that Ascendance. They've popped a lot of offensive coins. They might even be able to get the kill here. He's down to 30%. The Buckskin comes down. Is it going to be too late? Jamie dropping quite low. The Hex is dispelled by Looney. Good job by him, keeping his team offensive. And Speechless look like they're very healthy right now. Trolljagarn's certainly the team that's on the back foot.
Yeah, Fnaubers is caught into a full stun right now. I'm surprised that he actually didn't decide to trinket that. It was pretty risky, but he's going to get away with it. Blizzo isn't giving up the chase, though. Full hex on the Zeepai. Good dispel from Fnaubers. Zeepai's checking out so much damage just out of nowhere. I saw Zeepai get hexed for 1 second. Fnaubers dispelled it, and the immediate second afterwards, Blizzo died. I was just like,
okay,
man.
Damage. No. That was a lot of damage.
Oh my gosh. Do not underestimate the Zeepai, man. Or Walrix, for that matter. Both these guys are so good at doing the damage. And Speechless, they're going to be taken caught off guard here in game number 2 on Dalaran, Sewers, and Trolljagarn. They're just 1 win away from knocking out Speechless in a 3-0 victory.
But bear in mind, if they do go for this LSD again, Speechless do have that option to go for the mirror now. I know it is Jamie's second spec versus Zeepai's main spec, the Elemental, but they could even go for the enhancement LSD, to be honest. I feel like that would do fine in the matchup if this Turbo Cleave is struggling. Blizzo is just... like, I mean, the Warrior is really strong. He does have that defensive stance. He isn't too easy to kill, but when there's 2 Wizards on the other team, he has to go into the open. He has to chase them to do damage, and he takes so much damage at the same time. Maybe swapping in Fabio and bringing in some form of LSD composition, or even a WLS composition, could be quite good for them, just to shut down some of the damage from Trolljagarn and try to build their spread pressure themselves so they can maybe force some defensive.
I like that too.
It's just not working right now.
WLS sounds good, and I mean, Looney got BlizzCon champion on a Shaman. I'm sure that he could still play it if he had to. WLS does very good against LSD. It does very good against the LE Mage. I think that actually is their smart decision, compositionally, to just bring Looney Shaman out.
And Looney does still play as Shaman regularly, so I mean, they definitely do have that option available to them. I'm not sure how practiced they are on their WLS, but I even feel like the LSD coming out from them, if they are well practiced. We saw the LSD come out against Forever second place, and they did win the series. They looked a little bit shaky at the start, but towards the end they looked far more confident, and they won the final 3 games of the series. I feel like they could easily do a composition swap. They definitely do have the options available to them.
I would love to see that versatility come out from these guys, and I definitely think these are the type of players that would be capable of doing such a thing too. So super excited to see going into this next game, but this is the lower bracket, guys. That means that the losing team of this series will be completely eliminated. That means Speechless, they're just 1 loss away from getting knocked out of this tournament. But here we go. Ruins of Lordaeron is going to be the map choice going into potentially the final game of the series. And it looks like Leaksies is going to enter the fray once again with that Frost Mage Elemental Shaman Restoration Druid composition, and Speechless sticking with the turbo once again.
Yep, I mean, maybe they saw the early mage from Trolljagarn and they felt this Turbo Cleave is fine. I mean, they almost did win the game when they played Turbo into early mage, and I think this is a better map than Nagran for them, so I can understand this choice. I think if Trolljagarn had gone for the LSD, we might have seen a swap from Speechless. I certainly would have liked to have seen one, because that last game didn't look close at all, to be honest. But I think Speechless have a good chance in this matchup on this map.
They could, but at the same time, if they overextend onto Fnaubers, and Fnaubers like brings them just back and forth, right, long lines, to the tomb, back to the room, to the tomb, back to the room, and keep them in the open, Zeepai is just going to have all that surprise damage for them. So I think Speechless, they have to go after Fnaubers. They obviously want to have him as the priority target. However, there's sometimes situations where you won't have cooldowns to be able to stay that aggressive, and they need to recognize those times and try and pull back. Obviously, I think that last game was a little bit more luck than anything else, but we see nice CC from Trolljagarn, and Blizzo just getting bursted down. It's not enough! Rallying Cry comes out. He's barely surviving with everything being used. He was only out in the open for like 2 seconds. A great setup from Trolljagarn are going to put them incredibly far ahead, but Fnaubers gets locked down on that Cyclone. Can they finish him off is the question. Blizzo's going to leap over. He's not able to keep up the chase. Now getting cloned up by Fnaubers. This Ascendance is still doing quite a lot of damage. Jamie doing some work, but definitely Trolljagarn getting ahead here.
Yeah, and both teams took so much work, such a cutthroat game already. Fnaubers took so much damage, and he's going to take damage again. He's kind of in the open, he gets charged, he's down to about 50%, he gets locked down in the Cyclone, no sparks can available for a second, but he is able to just kind of kite away with that travel form. Looney also just kind of sitting back, a nice bash onto Fnaubers from him, trying to maybe deny some of the CC that could potentially come out there, but his team's just dropping so low. Blizzo down to about 30%, Jamie at about 70%. Trolljagarn are doing so much damage. Like you said, this open space is so nice for them. They can just turret the damage. We see a nice pummel from Blizzo shutting down some of that with the frost locked on Lixie, but now Lixie's taking damage. Both sides are just pumping it out. We see the block actually coming out from Lixie, feeling like he was dropping a little bit low there. Maybe he was a little bit scared. The Ironbark onto Blizzo will no longer be available, as we do now see the deep freeze onto Looney. This is what they were waiting for, the full sheep. Maybe they can get a trinket out here. Blizzo doesn't really have any cooldowns, having had to use some of the start, but then Blobbers dies through trinket. Oh my goodness.
Oh, wow. Blizzo taking a page out of Zeepai's book and just deleting Fnobbers for Trolljagarn and fighting their way back into the series. They're going to take a win on Ruins of Lordaeron there, but holy, that damage over onto Fnobbers there. I think he actually did have Barkskin up and active,
he had it up,
reducing that damage, but
it
too little too late, man.
Worked.
Yeah. It did not
he
seem
took
like
so
it worked.
much damage though. Yeah, he triggered it, but it was just too late. I mean, you can't anticipate that damage, but both these teams randomly, like, it was like damage had been turned up this game. Maybe we turned off Tournament Gear or something, because they just both were one-shotting each other the whole game. I can't believe that.
They just agreed to, like, they just said, okay, both your healers just take your gear off, and we'll take our gear off, and then neither team actually did it, but they still exploded one another regardless. I cannot believe Blizzo actually lived there earlier on in that game. There was a moment there where I swear I saw the animation of like that angel just pop over at his health bar, but it wasn't actually there. It was just my imagination anticipating the next course of actions. But they're gonna survive and then beat Trolljagarn here in game number 3, and we're gonna be going into the next game here. But Ruins of Lordaeron now has been used. That means that Speechless, that means Dalaran Sewers and Ruins of Lordaeron has been used. So they have no more small maps, per se, to be able to gain that map advantage going into the next game.
Oh, Blades Edge Arena, that tells me that Walrus is going to be coming in. Even without seeing it, I would expect Walrus is coming back.
And this is why we do ask if, I mean, Speechless have to lock in their composition first, right, because they just won, so... do they bravely lock in something other than the Turbo Cleave? Because I feel like if they lock in the Turbo Cleave into an LSD on Blade's Edge, they're going to struggle a lot. I mean, the damage is so high. Like we said, it was kind of random their first win. They won without too many coins coming up from the LSD just because Zeepay, I mean from the Turbo, just because Zeepay decided to proc a little bit. But I think it's still going to be really rough for them to take the game on Blade's Edge.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean... the LSD on Blades Edge Arena. They're saying it actually because Trolljagarn, they are the previous tournament champions, as I've been saying. They when we had their interview with them last time, they're just like, yeah, you know, like Blades Edge Arena is really strong when it comes to LSD. I mean, we were doing quite well with Frost Mage, Elemental Shaman in that matchup, but we switched over to the Warlock because Blades Edge Arena, why not? We get an advantage. So this is definitely their home base here on Blades Edge Arena, and they just need one more win to take down Speechless and to move forward to the semifinals. And so I don't know, I feel like Speechless is in the scenario right now where they got to be feeling a little bit of pressure.
And even if they lose, they still have Trolljagarn, and LSD and Ellie Mage are both very strong on that map against Turbo, so I think it's looking good for Trolljagarn. And it's cool strategically that they pick the LSD on their losing matches, that way that they can't be countered potentially, so I think it's smart that they're just flip-flopping. Also the mental state, right? The Mage and the Ellie is a lot more just boom. I'm kind of eating my own words because of how quickly Blizzo died in that one match, but it should be statistically more boom with the Mage instead of the Warlock. And now Speechless have to switch their strategy mindset, like back and forth, like how much damage do they have to deal with, the way that they're interrupting changes as well. So I like that from Trolljagarn, just keeping Speechless on their toes.
I mean, like you say, it's kind of like they maybe play the slightly slower composition now, let Looney and Jamie and all these people just kind of relax, you know, like, or not relax, because obviously there's a lot of damage coming out from Zeepay at the same time, but they get used, their brain kind of slows down a little bit, they get used to the slightly slower style of play, and then they bring out this Ellie Mage that suddenly they have to react to it super quickly. But Speechless have been doing a good job. They did react to it last game, and this LSD's proving both of us wrong so much. They're just able to pull out this burst damage regardless of not having that mage onto the team, as we do see Fnobbers obviously being the target of choice again for Speechless, having to use that bark skin already, but at the same time, Trolljagarn just putting out so much damage. Jamie had to put that Sham Rage out, as did Looney with his bark skin, and the NS actually used for him. The Stormbot defensively onto Zeepai, that's not really where they want to put it. If they want to be on Fnobbers, they want to be putting as many stuns as possible onto him. Zeepai sitting at about 60% HP right now. He should be okay. As we do see the bash onto Fnobbers, they need to get the swap onto this. It looks like they're trying to get the damage onto him. He's down to 40%, no skin available. A nice Typhoon is going to knock them away for now, but that means they can't use the Thunderstorm from Zeepai, which is kind of unfortunate because on this map that's just so effective. We see Fnobbers is now starting to stabilize, the damage being turned onto Zeepai, but he's just channeling out those lower bursts. We see the defensive Stormbar once again. The Demon Soul from Warwick's has now expired, though. There's no Demon Souls for a good minute, which means if Looney can kind of start to top his team here, I think they're going to be okay for a little while.
Yeah, Looney got locked out by Walrix there, so his team is all at half HP. He's trying to recover from that lockout. It seems like Walrix is taking quite a beating, though. Blizzo is dishing out. Ironbark is going to be used by Fnobbers to deflect it. We see a Stormbolt over on a Fnobbers, but he Shadow Melds it, and he drinks at the same time a 2-for-1 Shadow Meld from Fnobbers. He avoids a stun, and he's going to get all of his mana back now at 90%. It's not looking good for Speechless right now. Looney's trying to recover. A double stun out from Walrix. It's going to allow him to free cast. Fnobbers even getting a Cyclone out of the stun. Looney is in a decent position defensively here, but they're just doing so much damage to Jamie. He's having a hard time recovering through it. Warwick's even maintaining dots on Looney now as well, and it's looking grimmer and grimmer for Speechless, I feel.
Yeah, it just looks so difficult for them. They haven't even forced the Sham Rage out from Zeepai yet. Their only kill target is Fnobbers, and Fnobbers has actually kind of gifted them a swap here. He might go through this bark skin. He has to blink away. He's down to about 30%. If they can reconnect him here, they could maybe kill him. His bark skin's almost expiring, but it doesn't look like they're able to. But the thing is, damage on Warwick's is kind of wasted because he can just kind of kite away with that portal. Zeepai's just got his Thunderstorm. They just have so many tools to stop the Turbo Cleave in their tracks, and that's why this map's so good. They need to keep getting these swaps to Fnobbers, and if Fnobbers is able to just kind of sit back, sit in that bear form when he sees the team walking towards him, then he should just be fine, and they should win this game over time. Trolljagarn putting a lot of pressure right now onto Blizzo. He's down to about 20%. We see the Demon Soul coming out from Warwick. This is going to be a lot of pressure for Looney to deal with. He's down to 40% mana. Jamie at about 40% HP. The Ironbark comes out on him, and Trolljagarn are just winning this pressure game so heavily.
Yeah, we can see Looney falling more and more behind. He's actually sitting down for a drink down below. He's trying to get as much mana back as possible, but that exposes Blizzo to a big punishment from Zeepai. Looney's going to be able to NS him, trying to get him back up. Now actually swapping over to Looney. Both Resto Druids could be in trouble here. Fnobbers is trying to escape. He does manage to blink away to safety. Blizzo is just forced to attack Walrus right now. Looney's trying to recover as well. He's getting some good Cyclones onto Zeepai, chaining him into the triple clone. Not able to get the last one, however, just yet. Now getting a full clone onto Walrus, and Looney is kind of going clone crazy right now. It's allowing his team to get more pressure on the Fnobbers, but he is falling behind as a result. We can see both Druids seem to be the target of choice at the moment. Now Jamie getting fully cloned up, and if there's any stun available for Looney, he could be in trouble. He's trying to get away. Walrix is going to portal back up right on top of him, and Looney will recover for now. Jamie's actually looking very tanky right now, and despite being so far behind, I think they're actually playing this game back. Fnobbers could just get bursted down and popped like a balloon. Speechless have pulled out the swap and taken the game on Blade's Edge Arena, exposing him with that Ascendance and no trinket and no skin, just setting up the kill very well there by Speechless. And Walrus isn't giving up. He isn't leaving the game. Zeepai might have abandoned him, but he's still trying. I don't think he's going to get anything done, however, but it's a valiant effort from the Walrus Lord himself.
And this is man. Kind of what we said. I mean, Fnobbers, all he really has to do is sit back. He shouldn't be going for these offensive plays. He should just be playing safe the whole game because he is the only kill target. I feel like as long as the game goes on, he should just sit back. I mean, I know it's not the most entertaining way to play Resto Druid. You can do so many things on it, but he just needs to not expose himself to those swaps. But a good an opportunity captured there by Speechless to tie up the series.
That is correct. That is a tied series now. We are going to a final game number 5 here to determine who is moving forward to that finals. And this is getting pretty, or not finals, I'm sorry, who's moving forward to the semifinals. This is getting pretty hyped, man. I mean, between these two teams, Trolljagarn, you know, they've done a great job at being able to survive, but Speechless, they're finding the opportunities to take down Fnobber, and we're going to be moving into, I believe the only 2 maps that are left are Trolljagarn Arena and Tigers. So, I mean, Whose map choice is it? It's actually the Turbo's map choice. So, oh no, it's not the Turbo's map choice. It's the LSE's map choice. So they definitely are going to Trolljagarn. There's no way they're going to Tigers instead of Trolljagarn.
Yeah, but which comp do they run with? That's my question. Do you go for that LSD again, or do you go for the LE Mage? I feel like you go for the LE Mage, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I would go for the LE Mage in that scenario.
It just depends, I think, if Blizzo's team is going to play Turbo again. They could try and mirror them. I don't really expect that, seeing as they have played Turbo so much in the series already. It would be kind of strange to, get your Warlock in that might not be warmed up. Whereas Walrix, he did double everyone's damage. Like, he's ready to go. It's just Fnaubers kind of got caught out without any cooldowns to survive and not with the correct support, so they were able to get a kill with the Ascendants. So it was just a good kill window for Speechless, and Fnaubers is going to be looking to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I think that running with Leaksies on the Frost Mage definitely gives another kill target for them, to not necessarily focus on Fnaubers over and over again, but it also, I think, gives them a little bit more peel potential for melee specifically with the mage roots. But yeah, they're gonna be running it with Leaksies here on Trolljagarn Arena, and honestly, if it was Blade's Edge again, I probably would say keep Walrix in, but they've just had so much success with this comp. I just think that they should stick with it.
Yeah, I'm happy that both these teams are going for these comps. I think this is what they should have done. Speechless, of course, sticking to their signature turbo cleave. We've seen it. It's their main comp for sure. They were playing it pretty much all the time. I think it's only one series where we've seen them make a composition swap. Trolljagarn leading with their LA Mage, which is they're the team that are known for this comp. They're the ones that have made it work so many times. And on this map, I feel like this is their best map. This is the map where Fnaubers can kind of sit back. There's a huge open space in the middle for them to get as much damage as possible. It's going to be such a hard game for Blizzo, and even if Trolljagarn can't win the game, can't take the game to a long game, they have so many ways of winning it early as well with this comp. They can just one-shot anyone. They do so much damage. They haven't even hit Looney that much. I feel like they could even do that. They can definitely kill him in a deep freeze if they set it up correctly. But as I say that, Blizzo instantly pushes in to get that double fair, and there's the stomp onto Fnaubers. A good setup from him. Fnaubers not actually trading out the skin though, so good hold there by him. He's identified that he can just blink away from the situation. We see the Ascenders coming out from Jamie now, but the Hex, unfortunately, looks like it's going to sit full. It doesn't sit full, but a good 4 or 5 seconds of his Ascenders damage is gone. Leaksy down to about 70% with the backlash of that, as we do see them turning it around onto Blizzo. He's getting the Iron Bark right now, sitting about 70% HP. Not too much done with that sense from Jamie, and he's taking so much damage right now, down to 30%. That Shine Rage is forced down.
Yeah, he got knocked out of line of sight, and Looney's forced to blink in to get back to safety here. And Jamie has to be careful moving forward. The NS still available for Looney, so he does have a big burst heal, but he's got to be ready and waiting for it. The damage is very random and very big from Trolljagarn. We see a deep freeze on Looney. Leaksy goes to the Ring of Frost, not able to get it. A nice wind shear from Jamie is going to break up the CC. Looney gets the heal, but it actually doesn't do very much. It looks like they're setting up on the Fnaubers, though. He chooses to trinket. It's not enough. He's going to go down. He's not skinny. What is he doing? He thought that the trinket would be enough, but it just wasn't. And Speechless are going to punish him for an underreaction and take the series 3-2.
Yeah, I think he wanted to follow up there on the deep freeze, but this is the issue. The Turbo has so many stops for the deep freeze. I feel like you just have to let your team PvE, and I think he really pushed in so far there just to get the follow-up Cyclone onto Looney, but he couldn't get it. Blizzo was too fast for him, and I'm not sure why he didn't use the skin there. I guess he didn't want to overlap the skin and the trinket, but either way, the trinket wasn't enough, and that's such a shame because that's them out of the tournament now, right?
Yep, that means that Speechless is going to be moving forward and knocking out Trolljagarn out of the tournament and going to that semi-final match up next in the lower bracket. They're going to be going head-to-head with Kenitra Tigers now. Speechless will be. So Kenitra Tigers, they have that Rogue Mage Druid composition available to them. And they're going to have to jump right back into the action after a crazy 3-2 series like that against a team that brought the games out quite long. And so they got to be feeling fatigued right now. And that's just another disadvantage of going through the lower bracket instead of the upper bracket, is that you're going to have to play these games back to back. And we're going to be going into that semifinal game up next. Kenitra Tigers, they run the combat. No, do they run combat? Yes, they do. They run. Okay, now
they run the sub RMD.
They are the sub RMD. And they have combat as well available to them, or no?
I mean, I think potentially, but we haven't seen them run it once. I have seen the rogue play combat in the past, but I think this team is a sub RMD all the way, and I don't think we've ever seen these two teams meet
No, this is
on
first,
stream.
yeah.
So this is going to be a very exciting matchup, and we haven't really seen that sub RMD versus turbo. We've seen the combat RMD versus turbo matchup, which has gone both ways. We saw the Yacht Boys able to 3-0 Speechless actually, and then obviously we just saw that really close series between Reawakened and Speechless, which Speechless were narrowly able to take. So we'll have to see if that sub RMD brings a new dimension to the game. As I said, they do have more damage this patch since, of course, gear went up by 10 item levels. But I think this should be quite an interesting matchup.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
think
so
it should
that's
be
gonna
as well.
be that's the best of 5 series. So, but